So what I want to teach you today is something that I call flexibility and stability. Okay? And so in the human body, or I would say more in nature, there's two extremes to a condition. And so the first is what we call flexibility. So flexibility, we know what flexibility is, right? Flexibility is indicated by an increase in movement or an increase in range of motion, an elongation of the muscles and of the tissue. On the other end of the spectrum is what I'm going to call stability, okay? So stability, or you may want to say that somebody is rigid or they can't move. And so sometimes as a person ages, their body becomes more rigid. But we have these two extremes of flexibility and stability. But what we really want to do to maintain the health of our body is to have a balance between those two extremes. So if we draw a line in the middle here, we should be both flexible and stable. And so sometimes what happens is people become too rigid, in which case their body moves more towards stability and then they can't move, which means that they actually need to increase their flexibility. But on the other token, the other extreme is also possible, which is that people's bodies actually move too easily and they become too flexible. And this is an observation that I've observed with people mainly over the last really couple of years or so, that you can have flexible muscles. You can have muscles that are flexible, but you can have ligaments that are not. So what do those two structures do? Well, a ligament actually holds your bones together. And because it holds your bones together, if a ligament gets stretched, does it ever go back to its original position? No, it does not. When I was younger, I played soccer and I sprained my ankle multiple times. When you sprain your ankle, you're spraining the ligaments, you're stretching the ligaments out. So what ends up happening is the bones literally have trouble holding their position. A muscle, on the other hand, can contract, but then you can stretch it. And so if we stretch our body open and we lean forward or we touch our toes or whatever it is that you do to stretch, you can stretch a muscle and it will recover and it will tighten up over a period of time if you don't stretch. But ligaments, on the other hand, are a problem. What I'm noticing with people, at least in terms of the health of their body, is that they can have really, really good flexibility or good tone on their muscles, but their ligaments are weak. And when the ligaments are weak in your body, it weakens the whole structure of your body. So as I'm standing here in front of you here, I'm able to keep my head up over my shoulders, shoulders over my hips. But when I was a runner and I was running, and especially running on hard pavement, all that jarring in my lower back actually sprained the ligaments in my lower back. So I have really good muscular strength, but my ligaments have some weakness in my lower back. And the larger you are, I sometimes, especially in Charlotte, big people, there's heavy people here. And what people who are heavy don't realize is that they're putting a tremendous amount of stress and strain on the joints in their body. And so that downward force of gravity and the effect of concrete coming up from underneath us causes a compression that begins to affect our ligaments that hold our bones together. Now, maybe in your life, you've known somebody who, say, dislocated a shoulder, right? The shoulder can literally come out of socket. And when the shoulder comes out of socket, what's really happening is that the ligaments that are supposed to be holding that shoulder in place are actually getting separated. So a shoulder can get dislocated, a hip can get dislocated, your knees can get dislocated. Probably your ankles too. I know that certainly from a spinal standpoint, the spine doesn't really get dislocated. I guess it could if there was enough force going through it. But this idea of flexibility and stability, if you look at your body and you say, okay, am I flexible or not? You may say, yeah, I'm flexible. And sometimes people, literally, I'll have them lie on their back and their leg comes all the way up to, if they're lying on their back and their leg is straight up in the air. Okay, their leg is straight up in the air. I know if their leg is straight up in the air, that the likelihood is that they have some ligament weakness. Okay, now it doesn't mean that everybody who has good flexibility has weak ligaments, but there is a correlation between those two things. So it's really important to be evaluated for this problem, because the fact is you may be able to identify it yourself, or you may not. I can identify it in myself because I know what I'm looking at, but you may not be able to do that. But I want to bring that idea into your head, because sometimes people think they need to stretch more. We have a society of people who they want to go and take yoga and other things like that. And I love yoga, but I also feel like people are overstretching their body and they don't realize that they're actually causing damage. So flexibility and stability. We want to have a balance between both flexibility and stability so that you can keep your body and the structure of your body stronger.